All right, welcome back. There are so many strong cultural and economic ties between the Maritime provinces and Scotland, and that is the focus of our discussion this evening. We have Kate Forbes in the studio today. Kate is Scotland's Deputy First Minister and Cabinet Secretary for the Economy and a member of the Scottish National Party. Thanks for visiting us here in Nova Scotia. Have you been to Nova Scotia before?
I've not, and it has been on my bucket list for a very long time. So I'm delighted to be here visiting and enjoyed such a warm welcome.
Awesome. Well, welcome to Nova Scotia on behalf of all Nova Scotians. I get the impression this is, though, a business meeting that brings you here, not for pleasure to see the beautiful fall colors, although maybe you'll get a chance to go to Cape Breton, as I understand. But this is a business trip, I understand. What are you hoping to achieve here?
That's right. So obviously there's so many strong connections, as you said, between Nova Scotia and Scotland. And I'm here for two reasons. One is to engage with those that have an interest in preserving the Gaelic language and culture, but also to look at enterprise opportunities. And I'm responsible for boosting business, boosting our economy in Scotland. And I'm looking for opportunities where Nova Scotian businesses and Scottish businesses can grow in a mutually beneficial way. We've got so much overlap in our key industries, whether it's energy, whether it's areas around entrepreneurship, food and drink, and it's looking for those opportunities where there can be mutual benefit to both economies.
Great. Who are you meeting with while you're here in terms of capitalizing on some of those opportunities that you mentioned?
So I've had the delight this morning of meeting with a number of your ministers, the Minister for Energy, for Economic Affairs, and also meeting with a number of businesses through the Chamber of Commerce. So we've been sparking off those ideas and looking for what we might build and develop together. But then I've also been meeting with representatives of some of the communities, and as you said, quite hoping to go and do some visiting of my own.
Awesome. How do you see Scotland and maritime provinces like Nova Scotia and New Brunswick working better together under the climate we're in? Because, I have to mention it, the tariff situation and the trade tensions between Canada and the U.S. has really forced our governments to look elsewhere, and I'm sure that's part of your trip here.
Well, that's a big reason for my visit, because in Scotland, over the last 6 months in particular, we have seen more interest from Canadian businesses than we've seen for a very long time, as they perhaps look further east for some opportunities and to European countries. And so I'm here to cement those relationships, and I just think there's such incredible overlap. I think there's the same sort of dynamic in the way we do business and just great overlap with some of the key industries.
Looking at my notes, Canada is Scotland's, ninth largest export market, so around $940 million of goods are exported from here to Scotland a year. Around 105 Canadian companies operate in Scotland, employing more than 10,000 people. So we are intertwined already. Is there something specific, though, that on this trip you're looking to boost in terms of that relationship?
A lot of you also visit Scotland as tourists and spend a lot of money, so that's also good. So let's take the energy transition. So Scotland has a rich heritage in oil and gas, but we're transitioning to offshore wind. You've got a big programme here in terms of that. So how do we create the jobs for Nova Scotians? How do we create the jobs for people in Scotland as part of that transition? There's a big opportunity. There's already strong connections on defence, on the Navy, and on building warships. So there's connections like that. So it's all about how we create the jobs locally for either Nova Scotia or Scotland as a result of our natural resources.
The time we're in now, globally, is it more important than ever to really reevaluate our relationship with each other around emerging sectors, even like, critical minerals we're hearing a lot about, paving the way for a green economy, the future in that way?
So I don't think we're doing enough as it is. I think we could do so much more. And what I heard today from businesses was an appetite to build on the social connections we have. We have social connections. Nova Scotia and Scotland and the Maritimes have social connections with Scotland. But how do we create enterprising opportunities out of that? And that's what I'm keen to deliver on. Well,
Nova Scotia, commonly referred to as New Scotland, obviously, so there is some culture and history there as well. Let's get into that before we wrap it up here. How important is that to build on that? And are people in Scotland aware of us here and vice versa? Is there something to really, establish there?
Well, as a Scott from the Highlands, Cape Breton and Nova Scotia have always been this magical place in our minds. We grew up on the Rankin family and other musical exports, and so there is that really strong connection. But in recent years, we've seen the growth of Gaelic education in Nova Scotia. We've got the Gaelic College. We too have a Gaelic College. So I think these connections are stronger than they've ever been.
You plan to take a tour of the Highlands of Cape Breton a little bit too, right? It's not just pure business for you. You're
Yes,
gonna...
a few days after I finish the business part, I'm going to go and have a look, and very much looking forward to it.
That's awesome. We are kind of getting short on time here, but I want to thank you for making some time during your trip to come in and talk with us. What's one of the biggest exports that Scotland has with Canada in terms of what you deliver?
Well, food and drink is a big export. I think we're both in the seafood business, and so there's a lot of overlap in relation to that.
Well, lobster, might that be on the menu while you're for your trip here?
I will need to find a lobster before I leave.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. We'll have to wrap it up there. Thanks for coming in. Kate Forbes is the Deputy First Minister in Scotland and is on a business trip here. Thanks for making some time again. We'll ask you to stick around. We're going to do a quick commercial break, but there's much more news from the Maritimes. Stay tuned.